Hi there VC, Steve Whitty here, time for another video. This is a January's Finds video. I'm going to show off 9 albums that I picked up this month. So I've slowed that down a little bit. I've got some 2-pounders, so I'm not sure where I'm going to show those yet. But without further ado, let's start showing the records. First one is Cresa, their debut album. I think this came out in 1970 on Vertigo. This is a reissue on an Italian label called Cresa. I don't know if you can see that there. Cresa were a prog band. Now, according to this book Pete gave me just before New Year, Galactic Ramble, what made them stand out was they did short songs. I think they lasted about two albums and didn't have great success. But as I mentioned earlier, it was released on the Vertigo label originally and the Swirl. And I had a look on Discogs as I was cataloguing this on my collection. And in good nick, this Cresa album is fetching something like 800 quid. Now, obviously, I didn't pay 800 quid for my copy. I paid, this wasn't, as I say, it's a reissue. The album itself is really good. I quite like it. It's not heavily based on guitars. It's very sort of keyboard, almost folky, I would say, sort of folk prog. And that's why I like it. Different. And this is the second album I've got from the Cresa label. As I said, they're Italian. The Quatermass that I showed you, I think last year, was on the label. I'm going to research them out. I've been search this label out because I think they were primarily a reissues label, so to see if there's any more gems that I can pick up on there. Really good album, well worth seeking out. So I just wouldn't expect anyone to pay for a Vertical Swirl. Changing tact, this is Bobby Gentry with the Ode to Billy Joe. This is a mono pressing, UK mono pressing. I was lucky to find this. It's in reasonable shape. Got the fold down collar cover. Saved the children, sold it for £3. I bought a little bit more than that, and it belonged to Mrs. McDonald. Maybe the farmer's wife. Great album. This is just a great album. It's probably, for a lot of people, her best album. And obviously the closing track on here is the one that everyone knows, the Ode to Billy Joe. But there's lots of great stuff. Mississippi Delta, Chickasaw County Child, Papa, won't you let me go to town with you? Hurry Tuesday's Child, Lazy Willie. Some of the tracks on there, it really is good. It's country, but it's almost swampy as well. If you trying to get out, and that's in my view. Obviously, some people might tell me different, but this is just absolutely wonderful. I got a couple of Bobby Gentry albums. It's not the first one. Obviously, again, pleased to find it at a reasonable price. Next up, Gypsy. Now, this is the UK Gypsy from the early 70s, not the American one. The American band were sort of progressive rock. This is more, I would say, more countrified, folk. Yeah, I would say more countrified. I think they made 3 albums. This is self-titled. I'm not sure if it's the debut or not. It's released on United Artists. Again, really good album. I quite enjoy it. As I said, I'm culling, but I thought while making room, the sort of music I'm going to go is primarily 70s based. A lot of this stuff that you can't get on streaming sites, so you know, if I'm going to have anything that's in the collection, I'm going to have stuff like this. So yeah, really happy to find that. Excuse me. I'm going to have a quick slurp. Earth and Fire, Atlantis. Dutch band, prog, very much prog rock. This is prog rock. I think this came out in '73. The Netherlands in the early '70s produced some great bands. Golden Earring, Super Sister, Focus. I think you'd put this amongst them. Probably not so well known, very popular in Europe. Side one is a concept piece about Atlantis, and it's basically telling the tale how corrupt society sort of self-destructs. And then the second side is just normal songs, but getting in that proggy vein, very keyboard based. As they developed in the late 70s, early 80s, they actually became more known as the disco band. I've got a greatest hits album of theirs from the 80s, but I was really pleased to see this. Pete recommended it to me, and he said, "You like this?" And I took it home, and I did. I loved it. I just loved that whole prog there. Another album that was in the shop, I'd never heard the band. $5 Shoes, and an American band. The album itself was released on Neighborhood Records. It's one of these. There we go. And here's the rather colourful Neighborhood record in centre. How can I describe this? Pete played it. He said, "You like this?" And when he played it, I did. And what it reminded me of, oh, God, he's back in. I'll sort that out later. It reminded me very much of Mott the Hoople. The album itself, it came out in '72. So it's very much Mott the Hoople. You can hear a bit of New York Dolls in here, sort of glam, sort of like that. Sort of, you know, I think it's starting leans up towards punk. This is a one and done album. Never heard the band. There's very little information about them apart from who played in them, but I enjoyed the album. Pete played the first side, and he said, "You're going to take it out and have the second side." I said, "Yeah, I am." Wonderful record. It's good time rock and roll. It's just a case that the band itself sort of disappeared pretty much straight after. Don't know. I mean, I've never heard of Neighborhood Records, so whether the size of the label brought them, they couldn't get the distribution or couldn't get the gigs. It's a shame. I enjoyed that. An album that I've been after for a while, but the originals are way expensive, turned up. Modern Lovers, debut album, and this is not an original, but this is a Music on Vinyl reissue that came out in 2016. Obviously, it's got the classic lineup. Featuring Richmond himself, David Robinson, and Jerry Harrison, and Ernie Brooks. Robinson and Harrison would go on to bigger and better things with the Cars and Talking Heads, respectively. Wonderful album. Obviously, the opening track, Roadrunner, it's just the sort of like just a great song. But She Cracked, Hospital, Someone I Care About, Modern World, Pablo Picasso. Just a wonderful album. So happy that this has filled a gap in my collection. Then Hawkwind. Levitation, which came out in 1980. This is released on Bronze, the Bronze label. Yeah, it's the band sort of coming out the late 70s, where they were a bit more what we could call influenced by the new wave. And it's an interesting lineup on here. Obviously, you've got Dave Brock on there. You've got Hugh Lloyd Langton on guitar, lead guitar, Harvey Bainbridge on bass, and Tim Blake on keyboards. But you also have Ginger Baker playing drums. He played drums with Hawkwind during 1980. And I think he got the sack. He appears on the live album as well. He played up a bit and they sacked him. They couldn't deal with it. And I think it's something Ginger Baker actually regretted, because he enjoyed playing with Hawkwind. I think it was something a bit different. I think the paths across. I know Dave Brock and Eric Clapton's paths have crossed plenty of times. This is not a bad album. Yeah, I enjoyed this album. It's a really good album. You know, slowly filling up the Hawkwind collection there. Mr. Big, not the American Mr. Big. This is the UK Mr. Big. This is their debut album called Sweet Silence, released in 1975. Mr. Big, probably brainchild of a guy called Dickon, which would be him there. He was the main songwriter, and it basically was his band. He even credited himself with playing cowbell. This is quite a heavy album. They became well known in 2 years later, in 77, with a hit single called Romeo, which is quite a sort of a ballad. Top 10, I think, maybe even top 5. But this is really good. There's some really heavy parts in this. You got the song Zambia, it's open side 2. Sweet, the title track's wonderful. This is really good album. I've read about this album years ago. I think one of the early editions of Kerrang, and they said, you know, don't be put off by Mr. Big and Romeo. Just listen to this album. When this came around, it stuck in my mind. I thought, yeah, and it was quite cheap. So have it there. There's the band there, and it's a wonderful album. Wonderful album. There's room for 2 Mr. Bigs in the world. And finally, on a bit of a sad note to end on, really, earlier this month, we lost Tony Clarkin from Magnum, the songwriter. Basically, him and his best mate Bob Catley were Magnum. And Tony Clarkin wrote the songs. Wonderful writer. So, and I managed to find myself at last an original Kingdom of Madness, the debut album. I have got a reissue that was issued on FM Revolver, a local label, which had a Rodney Matthews cover on it. It never felt quite right. But then this came up. This is actually it's 2 versions of this. There's the original released on Jet, and then they pushed it. They had a distribution deal with CBS as well. So I don't know if you could see that. And it's just a wonderful album. It's very proggy. They were originally known as The Magnum, and recorded a single on CBS very early in the 70s. So, you know, you got Kingdom, the title track, very proggy. In the beginning, Lords of Chaos. They're the best known tracks off this album. It was rumoured at the time this album was going to get produced by Jeff Lynne because of the Birmingham connection, and plus they were on Jet as well. That fell through, and I think it ended up being produced or engineered by... It was produced by a guy called Jake Commander. It turns out he might have been a roadie for ELO, but hey-ho. But great album, and to me it's a fitting way to end paying tribute to Tony Clarkin. I know Magnum's new album just came out. Literally, he passed away on the 7th of January, and the new album came out on the 12th. Such a shame. I was lucky enough to see Magnum a couple of times. Wonderful night out entertainment. So there you go, VC. That's my January finds. Hope everyone's been well, good, and have managed to get through January. You know, your wallets may be running on vapors. I know mine is. Also, you know, again, I've had a bit of a spike in subscribers, and I really want to thank you. You know, you actually, whole thing with the VC in January has made it January a great month. It's probably been my fruitful month since I've been doing videos. So yeah, big thank you to all of my new subscribers and to my old ones, my regular guys that always comment. Tina and Pat, Rob Panix, you know, you guys, you know, you kept me going when I felt like not wanting to do the video. So a big thank you to you all. So I'm going to leave it there. So as I say, keep spinning, but more importantly, keep on smiling.